6 a.m. Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going through my fall TBR, my fall hopefuls. I've already updated my TBR cart to have more of a fall theme going on. We're not going to be going through this entire cart. Don't worry. I have narrowed it down on a list to just the books that I want to prioritize for sure want to read this season, or at least what I feel like reading right now. That could change. It probably will change. Fall is by far my favorite season. Not only is it like cozy, perfect weather, the leaves changing outside, it's just perfection. It's also a prime fantasy month for me. It's fantasy, it's romantasy, it's thrillers, mysteries, all that jazz. So a lot of what I'm going to be saying is fantasy, romantasy genre, but there are some other genres in here and some that actually get me out of my comfort zone a little bit, and that's something that I want to try during fall, because during fall I feel like I want to read the most. It is just the perfect time. So we're gonna have some of the old, but we're also gonna sprinkle in a little bit of new for me and just see if I can find more genres and books that I like and enjoy reading. So I've got my TBR list right here, both physical books that I have with me and not. Let's just run through it. I'm gonna see if I can get these out as I'm talking about them, but it's pretty jam-packed. So the first set of books on my list are books that I've talked about for the last several months that I want to continue, but I just haven't been in the mood for it. But I think fall is the time that I'm going to continue this series and hopefully finish it. And that's the Throne of Glass series. I'm currently on Queen of Shadows. So I have Queen of Shadows, Empire Storms, Tower of Dawn, and Kingdom of Ash, and I need to read it. I've been craving these characters for the last month or so, so I think it's about time that I pick this back up. Gonna jump back in. Very excited. Top of the list. The next one is also a series, and it's not one that I've been holding off on. It's one that I've been actively reading, but it's still technically on my fall TBR, is the rest of the Harry Potter series. I'm doing this series on my channel where I'm rereading Harry Potter, so if you haven't checked that out, please do if you want to. But I'm currently on Goblet of Fire, so I have the last 4 books of this series as well. Harry Potter is just the ultimate fall and winter vibes, so of course I have it on my fall TBR. Of course I do. Duh. This next one I have been talking about all year, but I feel like I'm officially back into my groove. I'm out of my reading slump, so I think I'm just about ready to start tackling this series as well. Also, apparently this is the season of series, but it's Magnolia Parks. I've been talking about this all year and I really want to dive in, and I feel like fall is truly the season to do it. I said that the same for summer, but then I got into a reading slump, so now Magnolia Parks is going to be a fall book for me, so it's going to be good. I at least want to start the series. If I can get into it more, like read at least the first 2 books, that'd be amazing. I at least want to dive into the first book. That is my goal. Yo, this truly is a season of series. I was not planning that. So the next book or books that I want to read, I actually read a series by this author earlier this year or last year, something like that. And I love her writing style so much. And I love the world that she created. And I want to dive back into that. I think this is a little bit different, but I don't know. I go into all the books blind, so I don't know for sure what all's going on here. Anyways, it's Caraval. I read the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy and devoured it, loved it, love Stephanie Garber's writing, so I want to jump into the Caraval series. I know technically you're supposed to read the Caraval series before Once Upon a Broken Heart. I did not. So now that an adequate amount of time has come and gone between reading Once Upon a Broken Heart and now, I think it's time for me to pick up the prequel trilogy. My logic for ya. There he is. Oh. Okay, so getting out of series, now we're gonna get into interconnected standalones and then just standalone books. And the first one on that list is The Silent Patient. This has been on my physical TBR for years at this point. And I feel like anyone that even somewhat enjoys thrillers, mysteries, what have you, they've read this book. And I feel like I'm the last person to have not read this book. So I want to know what happens. I want to be a part of the cool kids club. I want to know the hype. I want to understand it. So Silent Patient, it is a must read for me. I will be so disappointed in myself if I don't read this book this season. I swear if I'm foreshadowing something, I would do that too. Silent Patient, it's a must read. It is so spooky scary, at least on the cover. Kind of creeps me out a little bit. So I have to read it in the fall. I simply must. I'm actually going to talk about these next two books together because they're by the same author. They're not a series, but they're by the same author. Yeah. So I've got The Dead Romantics and 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. 7 Year Slip is a reread. Dead Romantics is not, but they are both fall reads in my heart, and I've been wanting to reread 7 Year Slip so bad, and I love Ashley Poston's writing, so Dead Romantics makes the cut as well. Very excited for these. It's a little bit of a break within the fantasy and thriller that I've got going on. These are just going to be such sweet and hopeful romance, literary fiction books. Very excited about these. Get out! Can you please cooperate? Now will you get out? Thank you. Oh wow, that's gonna be a pain to get back in there, huh? Get in there. Y'all are so dramatic. Next up is Assistant to the Villain. I don't fully know why this feels like a fall book to me. All I know is that I want to read it in the fall. I've heard really good things about this book, that it has people like dying laughing, but it's also a good story. I don't know anything about it other than maybe she's an assistant to someone who is a villain. I don't know, but I'm very excited for this. Also, this cute little frog character, he says help. You see him? I hope he plays a big role in this. These next two books I'm also gonna talk about together because they're written by the same author. But if I'm being completely honest, holding these two books together is really irking me and you'll see why. So the first one is The XX by Erin Sterling. I actually have read this one like 2 years ago or something like that. And I remember really enjoying it, and it's the ultimate fall vibes. So I want to dive into it again, and I want to see if I still like it, because I feel like I have changed as a reader, and I don't know if this is going to still hit the same. I feel like the fall vibes are still going to stay the same. I don't know if I'm going to like the story as much. So we'll see. And now you're going to understand why this irks me. This is a crime. So The Kiss Curse is the second in the interconnected standalone series of the X-Hex. And I think this follows the cousin that's talked about somewhat in the X-Hex, and I loved her. So I'm very excited to get into her story. And then this author is also coming out with the third book in this series, I think in October. My plan is I'm going to reread, read, and then get the third one and read it in October. That's the goal. That's the plan. And I'm probably gonna look into getting this in the right size. So the next couple of books are books that I want to read in November. They just feel like November books because they're not fall vibes, but I still want to read in the season of fall. They just feel like November to me. I don't know. But the first of those is A Little Life. I think this feels like November to me, just because November doesn't seem like a very happy month. So that's what I'm feeling. I guess, well, not like what I'm feeling, but that's when I want to read this book, if at all. I feel like either November or January is where this book needs to be read for me, surrounded by a bunch of other happy books so that I can recover, because I know I'm gonna need like a mental break after this. A Little Life is, shockingly enough, on my Fall Hopefuls Fall TBR. And then the second one on the November reads is Archer's Voice. I've heard that this is a sweet story, but it's gonna make me cry. So I guess I'm deciding here and now that November is the month of pain. Cool. So these next few books, they just kind of fall into categories that are almost like bucket list, get out of my comfort zone sort of categories. So there's 2, but there's 5 books that fit within those 2 categories. So the first category is that I want to dip my toes into dark romance. I've read one dark romance book, didn't really enjoy it, but I've heard that one that I read, what was it called? It was by H.D. Carlton, and it has to do with sharks. I don't remember the name of the book right now, but that one, not my fave. So I'm hoping that I picked out some that don't fall within that exact same genre of dark romance or that same section of dark romance, because I do want to give it another shot. So I have a few options. Oh my God, there's something in my eye. Get out, please. Okay, it's just gonna stay in my eye, whatever. So we've got Priest, Haunting Adeline, and Butcher and Blackbird. This, I believe, is turning into a movie, and I think this is more of like a comedy dark romance. Then there's a stalker romance, and I don't know. So I should probably not go into these blind and look up trigger warnings and such. I'll be doing that, but I am planning on diving into dark romance a little bit. And these are the options that are on my physical TBR, but if you guys have any other recommendations that's on like Kindle Unlimited or even not, like I'm willing to find it elsewhere. If you have recommendations for dark romance that you think I should start out with before these, please let me know, because I don't want to be scarred. I do want to enjoy this genre. So I want to go in with things that aren't going to give me nightmares. I feel like all of them are going to give me nightmares though, to some extent. These are the ones that are on my physical TBR, so they're the ones that I pulled. If you have other recommendations, let me know. Yeah. And the next category is truly a bucket list item, and that is to read a Stephen King novel. I have 2. I have 11/22/63 and Billy Summers, both thick books. I feel like if I was gonna read a Stephen King novel, it would be in fall, and I wanna just read one. If I can read both, that'd be amazing, but I wanna just try and read one. I don't know which one, so we'll figure it out, but this is truly just a bucket list item. I've always wanted to read Stephen King, but it's been so intimidating, but I think I'm ready. I think I'm just about ready. So those were the last of the books on my physical TBR. Now let's get into the ones that are not on my physical TBR or new releases. So the first on the list is another series, but I've already started this one, so it's just continuing a series, and that is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I love Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I really enjoyed The Naturals. I read that during my 24-hour readathon, so I want to continue with that series. It's like a true crime NCIS sort of vibe, I guess. It's like a mystery suspense, but like young adult. I would love to dive more into that series during the fall. The next book is The House Across the Lake. I've heard amazing things about this book. I just want to dive in. This is also just a season of thrillers, and I don't own a ton of thrillers, so a lot of the thrillers that I want to read are not here. But that's definitely one that I want to have on my list. The next is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, or just the entire series on The Housemaid. I love Frida McFadden, and I've read a majority of her other books, just not The Housemaid. And I feel like that book and that series is like what she's known for, and I haven't read any of them yet. So I think it's time. I think I need to jump into that. And the next one, I don't hear a ton of people talking about this particular book or author, but I was recently recommended it and I really want to read it. It's not necessarily a fall book, but it was a recent recommendation and we're going into fall, so it's on my fall TBR. And that is The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. I know nothing about it other than it was recommended to me, so that's enough. The next one, I don't know if it's a continuation of a series or kind of a bridge between a new series, but it's The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. That is the 4th book in the Inheritance Game series, I think. It's either the 4th book in that or it's like a bridge between Inheritance Games and this new series that is coming out. I think it's a new series, I don't know, but I haven't read The Brothers Hawthorne yet and I've heard mixed reviews, so I'm just gonna come up with my own opinion on that. And then we've got Games Untold by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. That comes out on November 12th. And like I've said a couple of times in this video already, I love Jennifer Lynn Barnes' writing. It's just so easy to absorb and so fast paced and just so good. And she does a really good job at like suspense, mystery, thriller vibes. So perfect for fall, winter, all those things. So that is on my list. Then we've got Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. That comes out on October 1st. And I'm so excited. I feel like that's one of those books that as soon as it comes out, I'm gonna get it. And I'm just gonna sit and binge it in one sitting, read the whole thing. That's the vibe, that's the goal, and that's what I'm gonna do. October 1st, Nothing Like the Movies. Next on the list is The Wedding Witch by Erin Sterling, which is the third book that I mentioned in the XX series, and that comes out on October 15th. I feel like that's also gonna be in the same ballpark as me just sitting and reading the whole thing, because from what I remember, Erin Sterling has very easy to digest writing and storytelling, so I feel like that's gonna be one of those sit with apple cider on my front porch, fall vibes. That's what I'm gonna do. And then the last book on my Fall TBR, Fall Hopefuls. I feel like I've seen this everywhere recently and I just wanna know what's going on. I wanna understand the hype. And that's When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I know nothing at all about this book, but I've heard so many good things about it, and I think it's a fantasy or a romantasy. I'm not 100% sure, but that is just the fall in a nutshell for me. So that is on my Fall TBR, Fall Hopefuls list. Anyways, that is it for my Fall TBR and Fall Hopefuls. Let me know down in the comments below what your Fall TBR looks like and what your most anticipated read for the fall is, because I need more recommendations, because obviously that list and my entire TBR cart is not enough. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful day, night, afternoon, whatever it is for you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!